In this video, we're going to talk about graphing perfect competition, and we're going to start with an industry that's in long-run equilibrium, and then we're going to add in a change in fixed costs, and then we'll see how that will then adjust back to a new long-run equilibrium. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to just finish my labeling here. So my downward sloping demand curve will be for the market, but my demand curve for the individual firm is going to be perfectly elastic. So I want to make note of that. My market supply curve is going to be upward sloping, and that will then give me my market quantity, which I'll call QM, and my market price, which I'll put over here. I also have my demand curve. This is my marginal revenue curve. It's also my price, and it's also my average revenue, but most often we'll see demand and marginal revenue together. My marginal cost curve is going to be a check mark, and that will be downward sloping, and then for the most part it will be upward sloping. And honestly, this part down here doesn't really matter because of the short run shutdown rule, where we're not going to be producing down there anyways because it's below our average variable cost. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to find this intersection where marginal cost is the same as marginal revenue. That gives us each firm's individual quantity. Now, because we have an average total cost that's going to be the same as our price, we know that we're going to be in our long run equilibrium. So this is where we are, and this is where we're starting. And I should back up and just say that we got this demand curve and we got this price because each individual firm is a price taker. And so that dollar amount is going to be the exact same as the market price. So if we have a situation where there is going to be a change in fixed costs. Let's say that there's an increase in fixed costs. I'll make a quick note of this up above. If fixed costs increase, what that means is the cost of the machinery or the cost to buy the factory has increased. But it does not mean that the cost to make each next good has gone up. It's not something where if we're making pizza, the price of cheese has gone up or the price of pepperoni has gone up. We're not saying that. We're saying it is now more expensive for every good, but it is not incrementally more expensive to make the next good. So what I'm trying to say here is that the fixed cost will increase, so the average cost will increase, the average total cost, but the variable cost in this case and the average variable cost will not be changing. So when you have a change in fixed cost, I'll make a note up here, average total cost will increase. Average variable cost, there's no change. And because there's no change in average variable cost, because it is not any more expensive to make the next good, there is no change in our marginal cost. So the only curve that's going to be shifting is going to be our average total cost curve. And I'm going to put that in here now. I'm just going to have it shift up above. That's all I'm going to do. Hits at MC at its lowest point. So I have a new average total cost curve. Now this is the part where I want to be really careful with what I'm doing. I'm going to make just a quick sketch here. Let's see if I can do this. This vertical distance here, we're going to need to keep an eye on. But I want to go back and think about one thing here first. If my average total cost curve has shifted, my marginal cost curve has not. And because my marginal cost curve has not shifted, and because my price has not shifted, my quantity is still going to be the same at QF. Now, because my output is not changing, and we'll assume that everybody else in this industry has the same change in fixed costs, if my output's not changing, that means that their output's not changing. So nothing changes with my supply curve. And that part's fundamental to this. And that's why a change in fixed cost is going to be a little bit easier than a change in variable cost. Here, the only thing that shifts is my average total cost curve. And now I have a little bit of economic loss. And I'll show you that right here. I'll zoom in again. My average total cost is going to be at that price. So I'm going to take this quantity, go straight up, and that gives me my average total cost. And then if I take that straight across, I end up with this rectangle here. This orange rectangle is going to be the size of my losses. And I'm going to take that all the way across. And again, this rectangle here will represent my total cost. But this blue rectangle where I go up to the price only, this blue rectangle represents total revenue. So in this case, my total cost is greater than my total revenue. And I'll make a quick note of that here. Loss because total revenue is less than my total cost. So now I've done that, I want to just get rid of these highlights just to clean this up a little bit. See if I can do this. Now that I have my area of losses, let's talk about what's going to happen in the long run. So if firms are experiencing economic losses and they're still producing at their profit maximizing price and quantity, what's going to happen now is that these losses are going to force firms to exit the market. So I'll make a quick note here. Losses force firms to exit the market. And now, when we're talking about exiting the market, we are now transitioning from the short run to the long run. So in this case, the supply is going to decrease and the price will increase until all firms earn a normal profit. Normal profit. And I will show that now in the graph. So I'm going to have my supply decreasing. Now, what my goal here is I'm going to have my new price and quantity be right here, where the price, the average sold cost, and the marginal cost are all the same. And it looks like it's going to be basically the same line as my orange line. So that's going to be my new demand curve. And the way that I'm going to get that is by just backtracking. So I think the way to graph this most accurately is to work backwards. I'm going to go all the way back to the demand curve. So my new supplier curve is going to go through that point. I'm going to graph that now. So what really happens is the supply curve shifts to the left because there's been a decrease. That's going to raise the market price and it's going to decrease the market quantity. And because we are price takers, the individual price has gone up as well, and has gone up now such that we have a normal profit. The thing is, though, because the price has gone up, each individual firm, this one included, is going to produce at a greater output to QF1. So you need to be careful here. The market quantity has decreased, but the individual firm's quantity has increased because the MR and the MC are now intersecting at a greater quantity. So what we have now is a total revenue that goes, see if I can do this, the total revenue goes up to the price and over. So I have my total revenue rectangle. My total cost now is going to be up to the average total cost, which is the same amount, and then over to give me my quantity. So now total revenue is the same as total cost, so I'm back in a long run equilibrium after all of those changes.